What is happening, lads? Welcome back. How are we all doing, lads? I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be getting to what is widely considered as metalcore royalty. Architects have been a band that I've somewhat bypassed. I feel like it's kind of a rite of passage to get to Architects at some point. I'd heard a lot of their singles from, what's the name of that latest album that they released? For Those That Wish to Exist. So my first introduction to Architects was when they released Animals. And then I went on to do a few of the singles off of the album. And to be honest, the singles were actually really, really good. They're really unique. I thought Animals was really, really good. I thought Black Lungs was brilliant. I thought Dead Butterflies was kind of overplaying it at that point because Black Lungs and Animals kind of sounded the same. I actually really like Meteor as well. So these were a lot of the singles, I believe. And then they dropped the actual album. So I was actually quite hyped to go in and listen to the album. But I remember listening to it back in like COVID. I think they released it during COVID, and I remember like I was playing Warzone by myself and I just had the game muted and I just had the album on, and I remember just like trying to be inspired by it, and it just didn't feel cohesive whatsoever. And I think that's like general consensus as well, that Architects have gone down this really weird route with their music, and I believe they have a new album coming out already. So whether this new album is going to be like a bounce back to say like, look, I know the latest album, For Those That Wish to Exist, didn't really get the best response compared to some of their older albums. I think who knows what their approach is, because it seems quite odd to already be bringing out a new album. So maybe they just have a lot of tracks in the pipeline that they've just like, right, let's just release some albums. But who knows? But today we are getting to an album that absolutely smoked the Patreon poll. It's Holy Hell. This was from 2018. So these guys are like one of the most... Is it 2018? Let me just double check. Sorry. Yeah, it's 2018 album. So these guys are very, very consistent. Like to release an album in 2018 and then 2021, and then I believe there's one scheduled for maybe the end of the year, or I think early next year. I'm not entirely sure. I think I was on their Instagram page last night and I seen something about promo for their next album. So yeah, it'd be interesting to check out this one, lads. This, like I said, metalcore royalty. I believe these guys paved the way in a lot of sense, especially for the UK scene. So I'm interested to check them out. Again, like I said, I've loved a lot of the singles, but I just remember listening to the album For Those That Wish to Exist and being, I think I just turned it off like halfway through. I just didn't really fuck with it at all. So yeah, we'll see where their sound originated from. I haven't heard any of the tracks on this apart from Doomsday, I think. I'm standing beneath the meteor, disasters breaking down my door. I should be moving mountains.
Death is not defeat.
That's not Sam Carter, is it? Doesn't sound like him at all. Okay, powerful intro track. Yeah, okay, enough to keep me listening. Obviously, I'm not going to stop now, but imagining in a scenario where I'm not filming, that would be enough to keep me listening. You know, there's a nice catchy element to it. It was, you know, dynamic in segments, but also just, you know, hit the right spot with the heaviness. But yeah, not a bad track whatsoever to start off the album. I think there was 2 vocalists on that track, if I'm not mistaken. Someone let me know in the comments, because there was a segment there where it didn't sound like Sam Carter's cleans. So yeah, let's continue on with the second track of the album. This is Hereafter.
Now the oceans have drained out.
It was also interesting in the first track to hear the orchestral elements that they, you know, have used so much of over the last while. With a lot of their newer tracks, they've done the orchestral versions, so they've had like full orchestras play tracks like Animals. I think they did one for, oh god, which one did they do one for? Yeah, recently anyway, they did one for, did they do the whole album? Because there's one here for Animals which I've seen. There was Impermanence, which I don't think I have seen, because I don't think I've actually heard that track before. Then they seem to have done a few over the past while. Architects, I think they just did For Those That Wish to Exist. They do the whole album, but then there's only snippets of it on YouTube. I'm not entirely sure. A little bit like Tesseract and Portals, the way they only released like certain tracks from Portals, because obviously you had to pay for the whole thing. Oh, what have I clicked into here? Yeah, so yeah, interesting to hear that they've obviously always used a little bit of orchestra, or at least since 2018. I don't know if they've used those elements before. I heard violin throughout the first track. So yeah, let's bring Hereafter back and get into this properly now.
Now the oceans have drained out. Can I come up for air? 'Cause I've been learning to live without. And I'm fighting with broken bones. I wasn't ready for the rupture. Well, it must be true, but these words they mean nothing to me. I know that time will end this fracture. I've been lost in a maze in every road I take. That's why I pray to you. Now the oceans have drained out. Shall I come up for air? 'Cause I've been learning to live without. And I'm fighting with broken bones. Now the skies have been brighter. I gotta find my way. Yes, it's we're heading, but there's a goal. And I'm fighting with broken bones.
I felt a little bit forced. But this is definitely like a totally different architects to anything that I've heard from their new singles. Their new singles implemented obviously really, really catchy hooks, but it was a lot of bigger, like chuggier dun 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 dun. There wasn't a lot of this like tapping riffage going on. So I can see why it has been like, because, you know, I've come from the perspective of hearing the modern architects, or at least, you know, some of the bigger singles that they've had over the last like year, 2 years or so. I haven't really checked out like some of the more recent ones, like the ones over the past like, you know, 6 months to a year, I believe. So I think they've gotten even like kind of worse feedback than For Those Who Wish to Exist. But yeah, it's been it's interesting to hear it, like coming from my perspective, you guys having heard all this music first and then going into, well, not all of you guys, but a lot of you guys that I imagine who are big fans of these would have heard it the opposite way around. So you're used to these like tapping riffs, the real intricate tappy riffs, and then you're going on to what almost seems like less technical but more melody focused and more, you know, big arena sounding. So that's just the takeaway I have from listening to what I've heard so far. This really sounds like Era to me. Yeah, this is very like Era. Again, I say like Era, not meaning that they copied Era. I just mean it sounds like Era. That's getting catchier as I hear it. Oh, that's one of them riffs that gets better the longer it goes on. Yeah, this is very uplifting. Absolutely mortal. I guess we're mortal after all. One day, all of us will get on the dance. So much in the light to see what matters. Oh, lads, this is really giving me a lot of Era's self-titled album vibes. Like, really a lot of those vibes. Even the tempo that this track kicked off with the like modern gented out kind of tapping riffs, it just, that really reminds me of Era. Again, important to note that when I say make these comparisons, it's purely because I've heard Era before I've heard Architects. I'm not saying this band ripped this band. It's probably more likely that Era took influence from Architects based on, you know, the hierarchy of when these guys had started creating music or how long they've been on the scene for. I know Era are a relatively new band in terms of how popular they are, but Architects, like, yeah, I can see the complete difference between this kind of music and the stuff that they're releasing now. It's not too far off the mark, and to be honest, I like both of them just as much, but maybe there's a lot more to come. But yeah, I don't know. And like, I suppose I haven't really properly given their For Those That Wish to Exist album a good enough go. I haven't given it enough chance to really, you know, make comments and compare the two, but I remember turning it off, put it that way. So it was it didn't really do much for me. So one day all of us will get on the dance, so much in the light to see what matters most. All ends will be mad and all worlds must collapse. Another part of the symphony lost between eternity, but God is in the detail. I know Give me something big here.
Lost between eternity, but God is in the detail. I know that there's a part of me doomed to face infinity. 'Cause every wave has got a price. Has got a price. Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah, like I mean, it's good. I'd listen to it. It's just not that didn't really blow me away. There was certain elements of it that I really liked. For example, I'll show you right now. So my favorite part about this is, I mean, the breakdown is fairly like nothing too extravagant, nothing that I haven't really heard before. It's more so the like synth wave in the background of the kind of like cloud of wave. It's like a wave of movement where you can just hear it in the background. That gives the breakdown a lot more like room to breathe. It's almost like you're anticipating the next part of it as well. It's just the way the atmosphere is built in the track kind of makes it feel that way. So I do like that. And then there was some more violins at the end, which I did enjoy. So I mean, other than that, the hook in it wasn't like enough to really like say, oh, this is playlist material, regardless of what the rest of the track like is like sometimes all it needs is a good hook and I'm in, and then I know for a fact, even though the rest of the track isn't that good, I'll probably listen to it hundreds of other times. But this track didn't really have like massive segments in it that made me really say, okay, yeah, this is going to be playlist, you know. So let's continue. Not bad though. I mean, it's not a bad track by any means. Okay, this is the album title track. Not that big of a fan of the fast segment. But that break, the riffage in that was beautiful. Oh, I'm a sucker for those kind of riffs. Oh. I had no clue where that was going. That felt like a really unorthodox way of setting up a breakdown. It was like so many like swings back and forth. It felt like a pendulum, just like kind of waiting, and I couldn't call where the middle of it was going to be. Like there, I thought it was coming in. I was like, oh, here's the breakdown, and then it. And then they'd go back into that roll. The gented out guitars. And there again, I thought it was going to break down. And then even there as well, I was like, okay, when is this going to break down? Yeah, that was really like a unique entry into a breakdown, in my opinion anyway. I've not really heard much like that. This has been my my number one track on the album though, 100%. Hard lyrics, to be fair. That violin adds so much to it. Like the breakdown at the end of that wasn't like massively different to anything I've heard before again, but it's like that violin or the ambience that they add into the background just kind of gives that bit of a, you know, unique kick. Damnation. Again, holy hell, probably my favorite track on the album so far. I wouldn't say that's like saying a lot, to be honest, because no track has really like massively... Sam Carter's vocals are very, very impressive. They're doing it again.
It's time to confess. I'm on this flesh. I answer my own prayers. I bear my own despair.
Those open pockets of space between the riffs and the like synthy background as well. I've done that quite a few times. It's almost like a little semi-thal. Yeah, one thing I'll give Sam Carter a lot of credit for is his ability to create so much melody even when he's like screaming at the top of his lungs. Like a lot of the hooks that I've heard from Architects, whether it be on this album or on their more recent stuff, like with Black Lungs in particular and Animals, really, you know, springs to mind. He's screaming in almost all of the melodic parts, so the ability to actually be able to do that is pretty impressive. So yeah, shout out to Sam Carter for being so talented. But yeah, I mean, the album as a whole is like, maybe I'm just getting more used to like really modern metalcore. Like I've heard a lot of like crazy wacky things over the past few months with, you know, bands that have been releasing music from like 2020. Like from 2020 onwards, there's been some ridiculous releases that I've heard, and they've like really pushed the boundaries. Like for example, the album that you can see here in the background, I suppose all three of them, to be honest, like, I mean, Bad Omens, The Death of Peace of Mind has been one of my favorite bands, or one of my favorite albums over the past like 6 months or so. A lot of people have asked me to do a reaction to that, but I have heard the whole thing. I actually heard it when it first came out. This is kind of like pre me doing like reaction videos to full albums, so I didn't really get around to it. Obviously if it come out now, I'd be all over that, but yeah, so that's one example of like something that, to be honest, the three albums behind me on the bottom row are like really perfect examples of all the different sounds that I've heard over the last 6 months that have just been so unique. Like for example, with The Death of Peace of Mind, it has like insane melody, like beautiful, you know, harmonies, beautiful melody throughout. Has very good breakdowns, but I feel like the melody is like the main part of what makes Bad Omens so good. I mean, then the album in the middle, Mastad Under Vatten, is again just one of the most unique pieces of work I've ever even fucking heard. To be honest, I've been like looking to get tattoo inspiration because I'm dying to get some new tattoos, and like, god, the artwork on that is just really giving me a lot of ideas. So I'm thinking of doing something maybe slightly inspired by some of the artwork for Viljarte, whether it be the actual cover itself or, you know, one of the actual singles that was released with the album as well. So who knows? But yeah, that album is just so unique. So like it's hard to come from albums like these, and then obviously Obsidian is like the, you know, the electronic dance music twist on, you know, modern metalcore. So it's just like a lot of different sounds. I know Bad Omens maybe aren't really that metalcore, and Viljarte are just like thal, progressive, fucking heavy death metal kind of thing. So it's not really the same bracket, but most certainly Obsidian by Northlane, that is an album that like really pushed a lot of boundaries for me. And like hearing a lot of these albums, you know, more modern albums than this one, I know it's only 4 years old, but I feel like metal has progressed so much even since then, that now when I go back to even albums that are like 4 or 5 years old, I'm kind of like a little bit, you know, it just feels almost outdated already. You know, I know it's obviously a big part of people's I suppose it's very nostalgic for a lot of people as well, because I'd imagine this 4 years ago would have sounded unbelievable, and it does still sound really good, but it's just like nothing that I haven't heard before, you know. It's nothing crazy, in my opinion. Maybe it'll grow me. There's definitely some big, you know, catchy moments in it, but this is Royal Beggars, I believe one of the bigger tracks. This is kind of like a riff more similar to Black Lungs. This feels very repetitive, I'm not gonna lie. Bridge, breakdown, chorus again. It just feels predictable. I'm not saying that, like, if that happens or if that doesn't happen, I'll eat my hat, but I feel like that's exactly what's going to happen.
It's ourselves that we will betray. Are you listening? You may not have noticed. We have totally lost our way. Are you lost in the clouds? Or can you watch your focus? It's ourselves that we will betray. Like a body in chains, trying to fly away. Is this the price that we have to pay? Overflowing with rage, yet we still obey. 'Cause we were sleeping on the game. We sat on a throne, waiting for God to bend the knee. But we're nothing more than royal beggars.
Okay, yeah, I'll eat my words a little bit, but it still just like felt. To be fair, I'll give credit. The melody was probably my favorite vocal moment of the entire album so far. Yeah, so that was more akin to the vocals on The Death of Peace of Mind. So Noah Sebastian is probably one of my favorite vocalists in metal at the moment. He just brings that really like pop sound to metal, but they also mix it up so well with the disgusting breakdowns and the kind of intricate writing. So yeah, I mean, not massively sold again. Like I said, that was probably my favorite moment of the track, those vocal segments. This, I believe, is one of the big hitters on the album, based on what I've seen before. So again, it's not bad. It's like, it's really not bad. It's just not like impressing me that much.
Seven billion hungry ghosts, just a parasite killing its host. The emperor wears no clothes. I see those brands on bones, but we're buried by mud and misery. Mud and misery. The blood from our hands, we burn in a state. The truth will suffocate the soul. It grows with a light, it fades from our bones. How must be empty, all the devils in here, setting us the last breath. Finally something.
Okay, I like the lyrics. It's only really dawning on me that a lot of their lyrics are quite topical. Seems to be a lot about even like their newer stuff, like Black Lungs. I mean, the lyrics, what is it? You wanna make it black lungs for the black lungs for the young if they dare to breathe, or something along the line. So it's like very like almost environmentally conscious from the band. So I don't know if that's been like a topic of theirs all along, but very cool kind of writing in this. Like 7 billion hungry ghosts, just a parasite killing its host. So I'm assuming they're referring to you know, us humans being the parasite killing its host, being the earth. And the emperor wears no clothes. I see those brittle bones, but we're buried in modern misery. There's not enough water in the world to wash the blood from our hands. We planted a seed, its roots, which hell must be able to do that. Yeah, so I mean, that seems to be a common topic throughout their music writing and throughout their discography. So again, I always like when bands stand for something, you know, when they have a bit of you know, depth to their lyricism. But let's get going.
We'll share. I won't go to the grave with the sun still in me. What are we hiding in the rain? This is a prison for lost souls. Another life chose the drain. We're still run with the wolves. Now we can't see that far out. There's no light in the black hole. So try and tell me we are blessed. We used to run with the wolves. Runners are now assailants. Just the same as a gun to my head. Don't be fooled by my energies. I don't face. And the servants will bite as they blaze.
Yeah, I like this.
Come to this.
But again, this is more just the writing. I like the lyrics and the topic of the song. You know, I'm guessing there's a lot of like metaphorical writing here. Because the savior has a gun to my head. Don't be fooled by Maya. The kings are all thieves. So it seems like a kind of about the hierarchies in society and the, like, you know, power struggles that go on, kind of hidden in you know, in broad daylight. So interesting writing, but again, the actual song itself is probably not the biggest sell for me. It's more so I'm kind of involved in the story that they're telling in this. So yeah.
What are we hiding in the rain? This is a prison for lost souls. Another life chose the drain. We're still run with the wolves. Now we can't see that far out. There's no light in the black hole. Don't try and tell me we are blessed. We used to run with the wolves. 7 billion hungry ghosts, just a parasite killing its host. The emperor wears more clothes, I see those battle bones, but we're buried by mud and misery. Mud and misery. I will live like a slave. I won't beg from my knees. I will not go to the grave with the song still in me.
Okay, yeah, this is probably one of my favorite songs with Holy Hell. It's got to be between this and Holy Hell. The breakdown felt very meaningful in that it didn't feel like a breakdown for the sake of a breakdown, because of the topic of the song and the build up to it. That felt like a more dynamic track. There's a little bit more to it. It didn't seem as easy to follow or predictable.
I found my way to the garden, but I couldn't see the cliff edge in front of me. No cloud can catch me now. It brings me closer to God, but takes the dirt in the wound. Another beast.
Oh man, don't tell me that this doesn't sound a lot like Era stuff. That sounds like the Gungrave riff. That really sounds like the Gungrave riff.
It brings me closer to God.
Let me hear this. Let me hear this. Okay, can we all agree that this is one of the fucking best riffs written in modern metalcore? Okay, let me go back to the actual riff we're paying attention to now.
I found my way to the garden, but I couldn't see the cliff edge in front of me. No cloud can catch me now.
Yeah, it's that.
Closer to God, but takes the dirt in the wound. Another beast to see. I've got my hand on my heart. I thought that I knew the way, but I've been torn apart. Now I know there's a holy grail, but it's beyond the veil. But must we always fly so close to the sun? The silhouettes of fallen one by one. 'Cause we forget that the sun sets, and we're not long for this world. No cloud can catch me now. The devil's recruits whisper in my ear, don't silence the noise. It's clear I gotta follow the thread. Instead I'll dream of the end, and I will rise the tide. We're all refusing to feel, and yet we don't.
Oh, it gets better.
But there is only now, and there's no easy way out.
Is this album a little bit bottom heavy? A little bit bottom heavy? Some big tracks that we've gotten now. The last like 2 or 3 tracks.
I know there's a holy grail.
It's definitely progressively gotten better.
Why must we always fly so close to the sun? The silhouettes of fallen one by one. 'Cause we forget that the sun sets, and we're not long for this world. No cloud can catch me now.
sounds like that hurts his voice. He's got one of those screams that just sounds like it's coming from his fucking... Yeah, I mean, definitely gotten a little bit fatter this album around the waist. It's getting a bit better, a bit bottom heavy. Oh, say that again. Gojira.
I don't want to dream anymore. I'm buried outside. Every waking moment is war. This is the seventh circle. I'm stepping up the edge. I think I'm proud for oblivion. I feel the blood drip from my face. Maybe it's better to never have been so afraid to connect. Why did I choose to regret? I'm done.
Do it again.
I regret my past and done so. It's time of a best to cry. I'm holding on too tight. I think I'm done with reality. I don't wanna dream anymore. I'm buried out today. Every waking moment is war. This is the seventh circle. I don't wanna dream anymore. I'm buried out today. Every waking moment is war. This is the seventh circle. I don't wanna dream anymore. I'm buried out today. Every
Take a breath. Whoa, that was an impressive performance from Sam Carter there, but as soon as I started doing this, Gojira stopped playing. I've heard this, I'm pretty sure I did a single reaction to it. Yeah. Yeah, this album has gotten massively better.
Underneath my skin, the waters.
Is that general consensus that the songs get better as the album goes on? I feel like that's the same. That's how I feel about it anyway.
They say the gods are young. No use in saying what it's done is done. 'Cause it's not enough. And when the night gets light, it's like a brand new doomsday. What will be, will be. Every river broken to the sea. But it's never enough. And when the night gets light, it's like a brand new doomsday. No matter what they say, it's like a brand new doomsday. The embers still glow when I'm sober.
I know it would probably suggest that I really like this song because I've been singing along with it, but I'm not like, it's not like my favorite song in the world, to be honest. I don't think my reaction to it when I first heard it was like that over the top either, to be honest. Now I could be wrong, but I don't remember it being like massively into it, and I haven't really gone back to it at all. It seems very like shouty. It's almost like too screamy in parts. It's like just screaming the whole song, even when it probably should just maybe be, I feel like that melody probably has a lot more, you know, a lot more promise. It probably doesn't need so much in it, but
I have to rebuild, now it's over. Maybe now I'm lost, I can live. Souls don't break, they bend. But I sometimes forget I have to do this for you. And the only way out is through. Yeah. There's an open door. What's the prophet said? Still swimming through my head. Now there's no stars left in the sky, 'cause this well will never run dry. What if I completely forget? What if I never accept? 'Cause when you fade away, it's like a brand new doomsday.
yeah, again, it feels a little bit repetitive again. It's kind of back to that way the first few songs on the album felt.
They say the good die young. No use in saying what it's done is done. 'Cause it's not enough. And when the night gets light,
He says 49 million views
what will be?
or plays on Spotify.
Every river flows into the sea, but it's never enough. And when the night gets light, it's like a brand new doomsday.
This is a really big album in terms of plays and stuff on Spotify.
They say it's like a brand new doomsday.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was probably one of the first of its kind that really had this sound, but I feel like now I've just heard too many big, unique, crazy sounding albums that this just feels like watered down compared to a lot of them, you know? But, you know, massive respect to Architects. I'm sure there's a lot of bands that are on the scene right now that probably took a lot of inspiration from these guys. And look,
Waiting for a sign, washed up on the shoreline.
doesn't sound like Sam again.
The cross, but all is not lost. I just can't relate. A crack in the floodgate. Life comes at a cost, but all is lost. Is this penance for my sins? I gave everything for this man to live. Holy cows, nothing lasts forever. Now it's time to sink or swim. I got nothing except this wasted him. Holy cows, nothing lasts forever. Taking back what's mine, but it's lost in the skyline. A bridge I cannot cross, but all is not lost. Can you feel the fire at the gates? Can you live in life or dying for? Can you feel the empty space? Can you feel the fire at the gates? Can you live a life worth dying for? Can you feel the empty space? Can you feel the fire at the gates? Can you live a life worth dying for? Is this penance for my sins? I give everything for this man to live. Holy times, nothing lasts forever. Now it's time to sink or swim.
Okay.
I've got nothing except this wasted hymn. Holy Ghost, nothing lost forever.
And that is the end of the album. And I've got to be honest, like, I don't know if it's kind of what I was expecting. I kind of figured like it might sound a little bit outdated. Not outdated's harsh. Okay, I won't say outdated. Because there's definitely still albums that are being brought out that do sound a lot like this, and I'm sure a lot of the bands that have created albums recently have ripped a lot of the sounds that Architects have, you know, pioneered, I suppose, in this scene. So that's harsh to say it's outdated, but it just doesn't have enough of a an edge on it for me. You know, it's got some catchy elements here and there. A lot of the tracks sounded quite repetitive, and not only did the tracks themselves sound repetitive, as in like you kind of just get this, you know what the end of the track is going to sound like before it even comes. A lot of the actual individual songs, compared them to each other, they actually just sounded similar as well. So yeah, I don't know, like, I mean, it felt like it was going down a better route towards the end of the album, so, which it kind of did, to be fair. Like, I mean, Royal Beggars wasn't bad. I liked Modern Misery, Dying to Heal, The Seventh Circle, and then Doomsday again, I think, and Wasted Him just kind of like lost me again. But I'd say like from like Death Is Not, Defeat, Hereafter, Mortal After All, Holy Hell, Damnation, Royal Beggars was okay. I'd say like the standout tracks on the album that I can remember off the top of my head are Modern Misery, Dying to Heal, and The Seventh Circle. That felt like did I say The Seventh Circle? Yeah, it is The Seventh Circle. Yeah, so those tracks felt like the defining parts of the album, and I think it probably could have maybe rated a bit higher in my head if the last two tracks had have kind of, you know, held their own compared to those 3 or 4 tracks that I just mentioned. So overall, I would say I'll give this album maybe like a 6.5, 7. Like, it's not really doing enough of anything for me. It's kind of sitting in the middle of, like, it's doing everything very well, put it that way, but it's not like doing anything, you know, on the scream side. Like, to be fair, Sam Carter's vocals are very good, and, you know, it's very impressive, but there was nothing, you know, massively unique about it. His voice does sound quite unique, but I think overall it wasn't enough to really sway me in one direction. The you know, instruments and everything, I mean, like, fairly, like, breakdown wise, all felt like I've heard, you know, certain albums that have done everything that they've just done in this album just better. You know, atmosphere and everything, they did create a quite unique atmosphere with the orchestral elements. I always like violin. I know, you know, not a lot of bands really use that, so it's nice to hear it in the background, and it did create, you know, a bigger open stadium feeling sound to a lot of the tracks, but again, not really, you know, used enough to really massively alter my opinion on the album overall. The what else? The melody and stuff like that. I mean, it had shades of some of their newer music. Like I think Animals was like probably my favorite track by them, to be honest. That was the first track I heard, so I think it was maybe when I hadn't really delved too deep into a lot of metalcore bands anyway, so it was kind of like a new feel to me. So but that track was just very good anyway. Like they nailed the melody with that. And then after that they had Black Lungs, which I really liked as well. And then they also had, what was the other one that they had that I really liked? There was Meteor and Dead Butterflies as well. So they were like the 3 singles I'd heard going into this, and I would say those singles all were probably more listenable than, or have more replay value for me than any of the tracks on this album, to be honest. So yeah, I don't know, it's weird because those are all more modern tracks, they're more recent music, but I think I just happened to have heard their really good recent music, and then a lot of the tracks that made up the album, For Those Who Wish to Exist, kind of fell off a little bit. They just didn't really hit as hard as the singles. So yeah, overall I'd say I'll stick with it like a 6.5, 7. Maybe 1 or 2 tracks I'd go back to and listen to a few more times, but nothing really exciting me in that. So yeah, that's my honest review, lads. If you did enjoy the video, please do drop a like on it. Like I said, this will probably go on Patreon only. So yeah, thank you to everyone who's supporting on Patreon. Apologies that I didn't massively love this album again, but look, that's just how it goes, lads. You know, we had Alpha Wolf, A Quiet Place to Die, the last album, and I absolutely love that. So it's just, you know, swings and roundabouts. The pendulum keeps swinging. Some albums gonna love, some albums gonna hate, some albums indifferent, which I'd say this probably falls into the indifferent category. Didn't really, you know, massively enjoy it. So yeah, look, that's me, lads. Thank you so much for watching. I'm signing out. I'll see you in the next video. Look after yourselves. Make sure you vote on the next Patreon polls. They'll probably be live when you're watching this video, because I think I'm gonna put them out tomorrow. Yeah, this video won't be out for a little while. So yeah, make sure you keep voting on all the Patreon polls. Keep an eye on the notifications that you get from Patreon. And yeah, I'll let you go now, lads. Thank you so much for watching. I'm signing out. Look after yourselves. Cheers.